Hey everybody, welcome to the mighty Psych Central, This Emotional Life, GabeHoward.com, and all of the very cool places that we are streaming Ask Gabe and Lisa Anything Live. My name is Gabe Howard, and I am the host of the Not Crazy podcast. And with me, as always, is the fabulous, remarkable, amazing, and ex-wife, Lisa Keiner. Lisa, wave to the people.
Hi.
I am super excited today, and I really don't know why.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, I think I do know why.
Tell me more.
The incomparable Dr. John Grohol, who owns and is the founder and the CEO and the helpful person who helped us start all of our podcasts over at psychcentral.com, gave me this really cool shirt.
Oh, I was wondering what that said.
Isn't that awesome?
I'm not ignoring you. I'm dissociating.
Dissociating, yes.
I guess I don't know how to say that word.
25th year of Psych Central. I can't point at anything, and I don't know why. I think that it is an awesome shirt.
It is cool. I like it.
Yeah, I think that it is really, really, really cool.
Did he
Lisa,
send one for me?
Yes, he did. He sent one for you as well.
Right,
awesome. He sent it to my house, and I gotta meet up with you first.
Yeah.
So everybody, we are the hosts of the Not Crazy podcast. It's a weekly podcast, and it is the podcast for people who hate mental health podcasts. Everybody needs a tagline. We are so excited that all of you are here. We're going to answer all of your questions. Please just type your questions into the comments. Now, it will help us out. Shorter questions. Oh,
I know. That was I turned it. We were having a little trouble connecting earlier. I turned on my phone. I forgot. I know. I'm the Oh, embarrassing.
Wow.
I'm actually blushing, I think. I'm sorry. Yeah. Wow. I'm that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's how this works.
It's off now. I swear. Over the side.
In the comments section, please put in your questions, and Lisa and I will do our best to answer as many as possible. Now, please, shorter questions have much better odds of getting displayed and answered because they show up on the screen so that people will know what Lisa and I are talking about while we're talking about it. We do a great job of discussing the questions, usually disagreeing, getting a nice rounded viewpoint. But before we get started, while you are taking your time to type in all of your short mental health questions into the comments section, Lisa, introduce yourself. Who is Lisa Keiner?
Well, hi, I'm Lisa, the co-host of the Not Crazy podcast, available on psychcentral.com/notcrazy. And I'm here with Gabe, who is also my ex-husband, and we are the hosts, and we're here to answer your questions today. And I think that's all I've got. What do you got, Gabe?
My name is Gabe Howard. I am also the host of the Not Crazy podcast, available on psychcentral.com/notcrazy or your favorite podcast player.
Oh, I always forgot to add that part.
Yeah, Lisa and I, we used to be married. Lisa helped me when I was really, 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 really sick. And it was an amazing thing what she did for me because I live with bipolar disorder. She helped me get diagnosed. She helped me get diagnosed with anxiety. She helped me get to the doctor. She helped me get on the path to being better. So obviously, living with bipolar disorder is very difficult, but living with untreated bipolar disorder
is even worse.
Yeah, it's incredibly impossible. So obviously, big props to Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabe. That's nice of you to say. It's been a long time
for helping me. Lisa herself, while not suffering from anxiety or bipolar disorder, she does suffer from major depression, which is how she spotted my mental illness because she has walked the walk herself. Lisa, we don't really talk about it all that much. You want to talk about your journey with depression a little bit?
Okay, sure. I have depression, or I had depression as far back as I can remember. I have had doctors tell me that really young kids can't have that level of depression. So I don't know if that's how I remember it now, but that is how I remember it. I remember having high levels of depression as early as elementary school. I started taking antidepressants for the first time when I was in college after becoming extremely suicidal. And yeah, they worked and it was amazing. And I've taken them ever since. So depression has been a big force for my life. I feel like it really was the thing that formed my entire personality. And I didn't realize that was a problem until I was in my mid-20s. And I was like, really? Everyone doesn't feel like this all the time? Are you sure? I was not convinced. I was pretty sure that everybody felt the same way as me, but they were all better at hiding it. Kind of like I figured it was like donuts, right? Everybody wants to eat those donuts, but some people are way better at not eating it than I
I
am.
was gonna
I'm
say
not good.
they're
I
way
just
better
eat it.
than eating donuts.
No,
They're
they're
way
better at not
better.
eating it. They have more
Now,
self-control and they don't eat it. Don't interrupt
Lisa,
my flow.
Lisa, sincerely, one of the things that I'm thinking about is you said that other people were better at hiding it than you.
Yeah, that
Now,
was my theory.
do
I
you
didn't know they
believe they
didn't
were?
actually have those feelings.
Do you believe that they were actually better at hiding it, or were you just as good as hiding it? But of course, you can't fool yourself.
No, well, but that's the
Did
point.
other people know that you were
That's
depressed?
the point. This was illness. I thought everyone felt the same way I did. It turns out they don't. It turns out that level of depression is not normal. It is not the way everybody is walking around. So I always figured they felt the same way I did. Everybody, all
Gotcha.
humans thought the same way as I did. But how come they didn't look depressed? How come they didn't look sad? How come they didn't look like I did? Because they were better at it. Because they were better at life. They were better at hiding it. I couldn't hide it. And that's why I had all these symptoms and other people did not. It did not occur to me that it was not normal to feel this way in the first place.
All right, I see what you were saying. All right, the questions are starting to come in.
Okay.
Listen, here is what we need you to do. First, big shout out to Rebecca Scott, who points out that everybody wants donuts. Of course, everybody wants
Exactly, but
donuts.
some people are able to not eat at them, and I don't know how. It's like a magic.
I am not the guy to ask that. All right, we are going to
Fair.
start with the questions. Listen, here's what we need you to do. In the comment section, write all of your questions. This show cannot exist without questions. Don't be shy. We need you. Remember, shorter questions have better odds of appearing on the screen. Are you ready, Lisa, to go with the first question?
Yes,
Look,
absolutely.
I'm doing magic. Are you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Poof!
Oh, see, he's pretending to be a Jedi again. All right, so Sam Mullet asks, why do I take heated discussions or disagreement as an argument? Bipolar disorder. Well, I suppose it could be bipolar disorder. I do that as well, and Gabe does not. And the first time that I met his family, we were, together. I went to visit his family, and they do that. They just talk really loud, and they're just really boisterous, and and it made me very uncomfortable because in my mind that means arguing, and arguing is bad. So I don't actually have an answer for you. I don't know if it's just personality or the way you grew up or just what you're used to, but I do the same thing. When I hear a heated discussion, it makes me tense because I feel like it's an argument.
I'm gonna go a little bit of a different way, Sam, on your question. Why do I take heated discussions or disagreement as an argument? Some people are just very uncomfortable with conflict. It's not about being heated. It's not about being loud. I'm always reminded of the example that people use, where like, well, Seashow's shy. If they bring her the wrong food at a restaurant, she won't even send it back. And I think, well, wow, if I got the wrong food at a restaurant, I would say, excuse me, I ordered a hamburger. This is a chicken sandwich. May I have another one? But some people won't because they're so desperate to avoid conflict. So I don't know if it has anything to do with bipolar disorder. I don't know if it has anything to do with mental illness, although it certainly could be exacerbated by symptoms of mental illness, bipolar disorder, depression, et cetera. I think some people are just built to avoid conflict. And when we talk about families, there's all different kinds of families. Lisa's family is just so quiet. I mean, they're just, frankly, they're scary quiet. They're just sitting there quiet. And my family is extraordinarily loud and boisterous, and we say what we're thinking. We're like Roseanne, the stereotypically. We yell everything. That's how we do it. And obviously Lisa and I's marriage did not work out. We're divorced, and that's okay. That's fine. But my wife now, Kendall, whom I love very, very much, her family is also loud. They yell everything. So Kendall and I are more compatible in this. We just like to yell way, whether you call it boisterous or whatever words you want to use. Some people speak very monotonously. Some people are extroverts. Some people are introverts. And some people scream everything from across the room. All right. Are you ready for the next question, Lisa?
See, and I can't stop myself from thinking in my head, absolutely, but I'm trying to come up with synonyms so I can say it instead. But maybe that's my thing. Maybe I just say absolutely now. So yes, absolutely.
I love how you're referencing stuff from like 7 shows ago that everybody watching has no idea.
Oh no, they totally
Like,
do. These folks are totally they're watching everything. They don't have separate lives. They just sit, oh look, Gabe and Lisa are on today. Thank goodness there's a reason to get up. I'm positive they remember everything I've ever said. Thank you.
oh, all right.
Absolutely.
Are you ready for the next question?
Absolutely.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Why do the deaths of animals affect me so much worse than the deaths of people? Anything to do with animals hurts me so deeply. Obviously, sometimes I feel that way too, where you feel like I'll see a homeless animal or an animal who's suffering, and you just want to love them and hug them and you think, wow, there's people. There are homeless people, but I feel so bad for this stray dog that doesn't seem sensible. That doesn't seem right. But I don't know. I think it's partly because you can empathize with them so much more because they seem so helpless and they seem like they can't take care of themselves. They need you. They're completely innocent. They haven't done anything wrong. They count on humans. So I think that's one of the reasons that really comes up to me so deeply.
I think that sometimes, I am not an animal person, and I just want to state that even though I love my dog as if he is a child, mostly I am not an animal person, and I did not want to get a dog. My wife wanted me to get a dog, and I'm saying all of that to explain what I'm about to say. Animals can't hurt your feelings, not in the same way that people can. Animals offer unconditional love. Animals don't say mean things, right? An animal has never called me a name or been dismissive or refused to text me back. Or when I call my dog, he comes over, he lays with me, he lets me pet him. I'm not saying that because I have dominance over him, I love him more, or because I have dominance over animals, I care about it more. I'm really trying to explain that I think that this idea that they can't hurt me in the same way. I'm terrified that people will hurt me. I'm worried that people will hurt me. I take precautions so that people don't hurt me, and I don't do this in the same way with animals. So when the animals get hurt or leave, one, I feel this sense of responsibility, like it was my job to keep them safe, and I have failed at it. And two, I think to myself, perhaps selfishly, where am I going to find that unconditional love and support again? And I know that Lisa felt this way when Lisa was very, very depressed and very, very young. She found a stray cat.
Yeah.
And Sam was a cat, and
He was the best of all the cats.
But you explained numerous times, Lisa, that your parents didn't want you to keep this cat because you still lived at home.
Yeah.
But they said that they had never seen you love anything as deeply as you loved that cat. And we've talked about that many times since. But this was like a big moment in your recovery.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for a moment?
Well, I had this pet cat, and here I am thinking, and it was actually one of the things, probably the major thing that kept me from dying by suicide, because I had everything planned, right? But no matter how much I planned or how hard I tried, I couldn't guarantee that he would be okay. I was pretty sure somebody else would take care of him. I was pretty sure that someone would find him before it got, until something bad happened. I was pretty sure, but I couldn't be sure. I couldn't be positive. And that's part of the irrational thinking that comes with suicidality. But that was really one of the things that kept me from killing myself, because I felt this such a responsibility for him, and I couldn't let anything bad happen to him. And especially when you're really depressed and you're really lonely and you're really sad, it's really hard to relate to people, because people are complicated and confusing, and they have all these emotions, and they're judging you, and you feel there's so much pressure. And you don't feel that with animals. You just have this uncomplicated love, right? So when I was really sick, it was a lot easier for me to relate to animals, because I didn't feel all this pressure to behave a certain way or have them see me a certain way. So here I am. I'm so, I don't have good relationships with people because I'm too sick to get good relationships with people. So I have this, what I felt was this very deep relationship with this animal. And especially because I lived alone, you felt like there was another person there. It felt like you had company. And he, frankly, was not a very well-behaved cat. He would get into everything.
He's a terrible animal.
I still have this cap many years later. By the time Gabe and I got together, he lived to be 18, but he would get into everything, so it made me feel like there was another person in the house, like I had company.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Lisa, thank you so much.
I think the easy answer is that it's just relationships with people are hard. Relationships with animals are easier. And so you get this emotional attachment to them that's, especially when you're super sick, you just can't get with people.
Yeah, I completely agree. We want to give a big shout out to Riley Madison. Riley says, "Hey guys, it's Riley. You answered my why to live question last time. I played it for my therapist. Anyways, you're still here, Riley. Thank you. Yay!
That's really nice. Thank you.
We have a fan base. We are glad you're still
so
here. Thank you so much for everything that you do, and I'm certainly glad that we can help. We really appreciate you, and we are glad that you're still here. All right, Lisa, are you ready for the next question?
Yes, let's see the next question.
All right. Oh man, I didn't get to do the poof. Kyle Smith just magically appeared.
It was like pre Jedi.
I did it with my brain.
Boo.
Yeah. All right, Lisa.
All right. Kyle Smith says, has the pandemic created more anxiety among those who struggled previously? I myself don't really struggle with anxiety, Gabe. I know that you struggle quite a bit more, but yeah, I don't see how it couldn't. What do you think, Gabe?
I've said this like a million times, and as things are opening back up, it's less and less true. But I do think that it warrants saying, all of my coping skills were illegal for a period of time. Malls were closed, restaurants were closed. We were encouraged to stay in our houses and only leave if we had to. So simple things like going and walking around the mall to connect with people, and I'm an extrovert, so I get energy from others. Now let's think about that for a moment. Other people give me energy and encouragement and essentially happiness. And it was a quarantine. I was not allowed to be around others. This is very problematic. Also, sort of adjacent to that, I live with my wife, and my wife is a wonderful, wonderful person. Love her very much. Huge props and huge shout outs. Oh my God, I can't stand her right now. And that's not, she can't stand me either, because we're together 24/7. We're just for a period of time, we just stared at each other nonstop, and we had nothing to talk about. We were trapped in the house. We couldn't talk about our day. We couldn't talk about our adventures. We couldn't talk about the movie we saw. We couldn't even watch sports or television shows or just nothing. We couldn't even look forward to a vacation because everything was canceled. So whenever I would say, "Oh, I hate this," my wife would say, "I hate this too." Okay. She's a great support for my anxiety. Normally it's like, "Oh, I hate this." My wife says, "What do you hate about it? Let's talk. Let's work this out. Maybe it'd be a good idea if we go out to dinner tonight. Gabe, you've been stressed a lot lately. How about this weekend we go do X? Why don't we have an adventure? Why don't we go to the fair, the arts festival, the concert, the anything that's been canceled?" We can't do any of that. So to answer your question, yes, it has been mind-numbingly horrible. All of that said, I made it. I've made it this far. We've all made it. I don't think we praise ourselves enough. We have thus far survived a global pandemic with an anxiety disorder. Just, regular people who don't have an anxiety disorder are struggling. I know, because I see their Facebook pages. We're doing it with anxiety, for real. We are the Rocky Balboa of surviving pandemics. Nothing can beat us. We're running up the steps. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Lisa, anything to add?
I would say that yes, like you said, people, and why wouldn't you be anxious? It's an anxious time. Nobody knows what's going to happen, what's going to come next. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. There's political uncertainty. What's going to happen next? Well, not knowing causes anxiety. I feel that that's fairly obvious. And also the thing that I think you were talking about, Gabe, and I totally agree with is, because someone said to me, "Oh my God, do we have to keep talking about the pandemic? Can't we talk about anything else?" Well, what else you want to talk about? There is nothing else. There's no sports. There's no movies. There's no, even the TV shows are all on hiatus. What else do you want to talk about? It's the only, we're not going to work. I can't tell you about what I did with my coworkers today. I can't tell you about what I did this weekend because there's nothing else. So, and I think whenever you are forced to focus on one thing exclusively, it just starts this like circle, circle, circle in your mind. And for me, that makes me a little bit anxious because your mind hits this one track and you can't get off it. And there's nothing else to track to. That's it. There's all there is.
All right, Lisa, you ready for the next question? All right, I'm gonna do the Jedi thing again. Poof.
And the person in charge of putting up those questions is thinking, "Oh God, really?"
Huge, sincerely, huge
yes, thank you so much.
Out to Camera from the Mighty for running this. People don't realize she runs this across 12 streams. A few hundred people on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, just on so many different pages are watching this. She sets it all up, goes through just hundreds of comments and questions and conversations, and she does it all. Like, she does all the work. I wish I had a picture of her. Like, I don't like wouldn't that be creepy if I pulled up a picture of her? She'd be like, "Oh my God, what are you doing with my headshot?" But sincerely, thank you to Camera at the Mighty for running this. It's
really hard.
You are a badass. All right, Lisa, you're up.
Okay. I tried to run this one time for another project and it's like impossible. So she does an amazing job. All right, next question. My partner is the avoidant type. Won't open up. How do I go about it? Well, that's a difficult question. What do you think, Gabe?
No. I
was so sly on that one.
No.
That should have worked.
Lisa's husband is...
he is. To be fair, that's true.
This might be Lisa. Like this, I think maybe you might have put this question in here to see what you say. Lisa, your husband is absolutely the avoidant type.
Very much so.
But you love your husband. He's a great guy. I can vouch for Road personally. He is a wonderful man. They've been together for a long, long time. I know that they love each other very, very much. Lisa, trash him because this drives you nuts. How do you get your husband Road to open up? Please.
That is a difficult thing. He is very avoidant, and I keep trying to tell him, look, conflict is inevitable. We live together. We're not possibly going to agree on everything. There will be some non-zero amount of conflict. It's just going to happen. But he worries about it so much. And it just makes him so upset and so nervous. And he's so worried that any amount of conflict, no matter how minor, is going to lead to something really bad. So I've found that reassuring him helps. And I don't know if this is the advice you're looking for, but maybe some of it is just to accept it. That this is his or her, this is your partner's way, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with it. And is there a way that you can come to better terms with it or find it, or not take it so personally, or try to understand a little bit, or give them more space than you would want to? If we start arguing, he'll just leave the room and the argument is not finished. And I don't do well with that because what am I supposed to do? I'm just supposed to keep thinking about this for like an indefinite amount of time. And he just wanders off because, oh no, he can deal with this later. Ugh. It's very frustrating, but yeah, so part of it has been me accepting that this is what he's going to do. There's not anything inherently wrong with it. And just kind of being okay with it and trying to give him that space that he needs.
So one of the things that I think about is all the time. One of the things that I think about all the time is the worst time to have a fire drill is during a fire. I say it often because I believe that it's a powerful statement, and I think we all understand that waiting until there is a fire to decide what to do if there's a fire, we all acknowledge that's really, really stupid. Yet we sort of do this in our day-to-day lives. We decide, okay, the best time to figure out our communication style is during an argument. Or the best time to figure out how to make my husband or wife or partner not be the avoidant type is while they're avoiding me. And we're sort of setting ourselves up to fail, right? I believe very, very strongly in setting the ground rules when things are good. Lisa and I, we did not make it. So, but I don't want, we're divorced. I don't want anybody to think that this advice is bad, because it's actually very, very good. Lisa and I set ground rules for our discussion. Now, neither one of us were the avoidant type.
Go figure.
Might have worked out better.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Yeah, but neither one of us were the avoidant type. We had different communication problems, but we established some ground rules. And there was a couple of ground rules. You can make any rules that you want. It's your relationship. But one of the ground rules that we made is, one, we had a safe word. And a safe word was very, very powerful for us. That's if the other person started, just droning on and on and on, talking too much, hitting all the right buttons, yelling, screaming, or just even just talking too much.
If you felt overwhelmed, like you thought, I can't do this anymore, I need this to end right now, I'm overwhelmed, something bad's going to happen, no more.
Yes. So safe word, and whatever
say the
your
word safe word
is, I'm going to say that the safe word is banana. It was not, by the way.
Our safe word was safe word because we weren't, creative enough to come up with another word. What? Like, that's a secret. Anyway, go ahead. We were.
So Lisa would say banana at me. I would immediately stop. Let's be very, very clear. I would immediately stop, and that was
unviolatable rule.
Right, the unviolatable rule. We would wait, and then I would ask permission to start again. And if Lisa was like, no, I can't do it, then we would take a break. Now, here's the important part of the break. There's nothing wrong with taking breaks, but one of the things that made me uncomfortable was just like, when do we start again? So we would agree on a time. Lisa would say, I need a break. Okay, how long? A half an hour. Okay, so we're going to meet back in the kitchen to pick this conversation back up in 30 minutes. Yes, that was the agreement. Okay, we go our separate ways. We wait the 30 minutes. We come back and we start talking again. The safe word and the break were two things that really, really helped us. And sometimes I feel that maybe the avoidant personality is afraid of being overwhelmed. They're afraid of saying something that's going to launch a tirade or launch a lecture or on and on and on. So one, be mindful of that. Ask the person, hey, you're avoiding this argument. What actually are you avoiding? What are you worried about? What could happen? How can I make sure that I don't do that? And two, institute some ground rules for the discussion, because I really do think that having ground rules is paramount to all good discussions. And listen, this isn't a mental illness thing. We have ground rules for board discussions, debates, brainstorming sessions in corporations and companies. This isn't something that us people with mental illness just need. No, this is something that Fortune 500 companies institute and pay consultants tens of thousands of dollars to teach them. So if it works for you, awesome. Just awesome. All right, Lisa, you ready for the next question?
Yeah, the last thing that I just wanted to say is I think that is a big part of it for the person who's avoiding, is that they're afraid of what will happen if they get overwhelmed. And I know for my husband, he's afraid that he's going to do or say something that he's going to want to take back later. So it's this fear of being overwhelmed. So if you have a mechanism to make sure that doesn't happen, and we did end up divorced, so it didn't work completely for us, but we had other things going on. But the safe word is not violatable. It is 100% always must be honored. So,
real quick, Riley Madison popped up a question. Can you use the safe word and break skills for any relationship? I want you to know that Lisa and I are no longer married. We are just friends. And of course, we're coworkers. And we still use the safe word and break skills for our relationship. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen. Obviously, we don't live together. The stakes aren't as high as in a romantic relationship or even like a roommate relationship. But yes, I feel that they are transferable to working relationships. Again, the most important thing is you need an agreement between the parties. That's really important. You can't just declare that you are king of the world and this is how you're going to do it. All right, Lisa, next question. Are you ready?
All right, next question.
All right. Boom!
What does it feel like when your brain is balanced? Depression suffer since I was very, very young, so I don't know what it feels like to be normal. Again, good question. I've never been any way but this, so I don't know that I know either.
So let's break it down a little bit. One, I like that you put normal in quotes. Huge props for understanding that everybody's normal is different. I try to say things like, I don't know what it's like to be stereotypical, or I don't know what it's like to see the world in the customary way, right? I just think I like using language like that because I feel that normal sort of has like, I
A
don't know,
judgment
Lisa.
value.
Yeah, it has a judgment value. I think
Yeah, a
that
moral value or a judgment
yeah,
to it.
I would venture to guess that Bill Gates, for example, his normal day to day is going to be different than Gabe Howard's normal day to day, and it's because that's just how it works. And I know, okay, you've picked the second richest man in America to be different from you, Gabe. Well, I'm just saying another 43-year-old man who is in the same, the guy across the street. He's my age. Our lives are different, based on the decisions that we make, the choices that we make, the things that we like to do, the partners that we choose, etc. So I want to just kind of throw that out there, that this idea of normal is very much a personal choice. Don't let other people influence what normal is, because well, the best example I have is, it used to be normal to tell women that they needed a man and that they had to get married and that they couldn't work, and that a woman was abnormal if she wanted a job. Well, that was complete bunk back then. It's thankfully we know that it's complete bunk now, but people were tossing that around as if that normal had been, well, it's normal. It's normal. You should get married, and it's normal. So let's be careful of that. Now, I struggle with this question like Lisa does. What does it feel like when your brain is balanced? I do know that it's much better to be toward the middle. I have bipolar disorder, so obviously when I'm manic, that's just way too hard to manage, and when I'm really, really depressed, that's just way too hard to manage. So I strive for the middle. So I consider balance the middle. It doesn't mean that I'm not happy, sad, or it doesn't mean that I don't have a Scotia depression or a Scotia mania. I mean, it goes back and forth, right? It's kind of tough, but I consider that my normal. And what I feel that normal is like for me is that I have more control over my life than my illness does. That's how I define recovery. I spend more of my time living my life than I do managing bipolar disorder. And I think that's a good way to feel about normal. You say that you don't know what it feels like to be normal. It's possible, and only just only it's possible that you do feel normal and that this is what you want your life to look and feel like, and other people are just influencing you. Ask yourself that hard question. I think that that's really important, to make sure that you're not trying to live up to somebody else's expectations of normal.
Well, I wanted to say that when I first started taking antidepressants, of course, I had been this way for as long as I could remember. That was normal to me. And things changed. And nothing is more who you are than the things that you think about in your own mind, especially when you're alone. And that changed. It was different now. It was different than it had been for the first 20 some years. And that was really, really creepy. And I struggled with that a lot, because I thought, as we all do, what is me? What is illness? How much of this was my actual personality? Where do I end? Where do I start? And the meds begin. It was very disturbing. And it was one of the things that made me struggle with taking antidepressants, because I felt like it was changing who I was. And that was something that was very difficult for me to get over. Even if I did feel like, okay, this feels better, but it's still not the same. It wasn't what I was used to, and I didn't like it. And we've talked about this before, Gabe. The thing that finally did it for me was the idea that, if I keep going on like this, I will die by suicide. I will kill myself. So it really won't matter if I'm still me, if I'm still the same, because I'll be dead and all of me will be gone. Not just, some of me is gone now because things are different with antidepressants. Well, yeah, but when you're dead, 100% of you is gone. So there you are. So yeah, that was a big struggle for me, because I did in fact start to feel differently. It was creepy.
Feeling different isn't always good or bad. Sometimes it can be indifferent, and
Well, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's disconcerting.
Of course,
It's
feeling
weird.
different is, yeah, I completely agree. Lisa, are you ready? First off, Lisa, thank you so much for sharing and disclosing. Like, it's really important for people to hear, the challenges that other people went to. That's why we share our stories. At the end of the day, that's all Lisa and I have. I mean, we've been doing this work for 10 years and we've heard a lot of stories, but honestly, we're just people too, and we're doing the best we can. And if you can learn anything from it or take anything away from it, great. If not, well, at least I'm cute.
Well, and before we move
Really,
on,
nothing. Before we move on,
sorry, I thought that was an ending in and of itself. I was going to say you didn't say anything about define normal.
It's not mine anymore.
Well, so
I don't own
she
it.
deserves the shout out.
All right, Lisa, we are moving on to the next question. Are you ready?
Hi again, Riley.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Boop.
Okay, so Barbara Moore asks, is depression and mental health worse in the elderly? Can be.
It can be. It's probably important to point out that Lisa and I are not researchers, we're not doctors, so I know that sometimes it can be worse in older folks because they have multiple things going on, right? It's that comorbidity. It could be Alzheimer's or dementia on top of depression. That's always a very important thing to consider as well. Obviously, this is why we need to look at mental health and physical health as just health, because so many times, it's like we're treating the symptoms of just the aging process, and then over here we're talking about depression, when in actuality we need to discuss the entire person. Also, people who are older, let's forget about Alzheimer's, let's forget about dementia. A brain is 100% intact. As our lives change and we start to, and the world changes around us, well, it's easy to be overwhelmed by that. I talk to my grandfather all the time, who's 89 years old, and he's just like, look, that the world is not even remotely the same as it was when I was 20. There is nothing the same. Cars aren't the same. Nothing's the same. And it's, occasionally he gets old man rocking on the porch, swatting at flies about that. Mostly he is cool. So I can imagine that sometimes that would be overwhelming, especially with, if you had, depression or mental health concerns on top of that. Lisa.
Well, I feel like something to consider is that I think people are more willing to overlook symptoms of mental illness in the elderly, either because they feel like it's just part of the aging process, or because they think, well, yeah, of course you're depressed, you're old. And I feel like people don't, I've seen this in my own family, where you have a family member who has depression and you think, if he were 25 and he were saying these things and having this level of depression and is so worried about the future and sad about life, I don't think people will react to it in the same way. They would say to themselves, that's a problem. We should help him. We should get him some help, maybe take him to a doctor. But because he's in his 80s, we're all like, oh, well, what can you do? That's the way old people are. And I just felt that was very unfortunate, that depression and mental health concerns don't have to be an inevitable part of aging. They can be treated at any age. And there's no reason that just because you're elderly, you should have to tolerate depression any more than you should when you were in your 20s.
I really like what you said there about people dismissing the complaints, issues, concerns of older people. When it comes to mental health, we're often dismissing the complaints of everybody. And when it comes to people who are older, we're often dismissing their complaints just based on their age. So it's like a from an advocacy standpoint, it's like a double whammy, right? Oh, we don't care about mental health. That's not important. And oh, we don't care about you because you're old. And this is where patient advocacy is extraordinarily important. And this is where getting a good support system on your side, because I don't care if you're 60, 70, 80, 20, or 30. If you're suffering, you deserve care and help to lead your best life. I go back to my grandfather, 89 years old. He still mows his lawn, drives his car, lives. He wants to lead the best life possible. And I guarantee if I ever said to him, oh, Grandpa, don't worry about that, you're 89, he'd chase me down. And I'm telling you, he'd probably catch me. Lisa, are you ready for the next question? He is fast.
The spry dude. Yeah.
He really is. He really is. Remember when he was 85 and he painted my house?
Yeah.
And I got an injury and he just made fun of me? Yeah.
No, the best part is Gabe, his grandparents come to visit and Gabe has them doing household chores. So he's going to go off to his office job while his 80-some-year-old grandparents perform manual labor at his house. But in the end, the house looked great. They did an excellent job. So really can't complain.
It makes them happy. That's what I'm going with. All right,
That's
Lisa,
true.
The next question. Are you ready?
Okay, next question.
Oh, I want to see if the Force works for you.
I do not. I feel like the Force does in fact work for me, but I have so much Force powers that I don't need to test it in the way some people might need to.
Do it.
Okay, you're going to have to teach me. What do I have to do? I have to do this?
This is
and go,
not a
okay,
forced thing. Are you ready? You just go, next
ready.
question now.
Next question now. Now. Yay!
I'm like Darth Vader.
It was my fault. I didn't give
you're
appropriate buildup.
You're like Yoda.
Yoda is clearly superior.
And short.
Duh.
All right.
All right. There's pluses and minuses of both characters.
Not a Star Wars podcast.
Huh?
Not a Star Wars podcast.
But wouldn't it be awesome if it were? There you go. See?
All right. You're up.
All right. I have bipolar disorder. I don't volunteer that to anyone normally. I do very well with meds and wife's encouragement. Is it better to be private or be open about it? Yet another hard question.
That's your new absolutely.
I know, right?
Your new absolutely is yet another good and hard question. They know they're good questions. That's why they asked. And then our producer picked them. They've gone through like 3 levels of
They've already had many levels of vetting.
And you're like so shocked they're good. Like, are you surprised that the camera is picking good questions? Like wow.
Well, when you put it that way, I sound like a jerk. But anywho, going back to the question, I think this is going to be a personal decision. And I know you're not going to agree with this, Gabe, but sometimes disclosing doesn't work out well. You know, there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of discrimination. And as much as I want to say, oh, no, you should be out and proud and that will help the cause. And that will obviously, the more people who are out, the less stigma and discrimination there will be. So on a global, on a universal, on a meta level, yes, be out. That is good. That is good for everyone. But for you personally, it might not turn out so great. There might be negative consequences to you. And are you willing to take that on? Are you able to take that on? I mean, how much is this going to affect you professionally? Are you willing to take that risk? So it's a difficult decision that I think you have to make for yourself.
I completely agree. I don't disagree with you at all, Lisa. I completely agree with everything that you said. Look, for the cause, for advocacy, to help educate and clear up myths, misconceptions, to reduce stigma, to end discrimination. Yes, the more of us that are out there saying, look, I live with bipolar disorder and I have a family, I have a job, I own a home, I work in the community, I volunteer, on and on and on and on and on. Like that will do so much to unravel the web of, people with mental illness don't contribute. Well, people with mental illness, blah, 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 blah. And it's always so negative because, as I've said, just so often, Lisa's tired of hearing about it. Crisis in mental illness is public and wellness in mental illness is private, giving society just an incorrect viewpoint of what's happening. All of that said, yeah. Do you want to face all of the stigma, discrimination, lose your job, lose your health insurance, lose the ability to take care of yourself? I don't know your life. It is not lost on me. It is not lost on me that I am so privileged and so fortunate that I am allowed to live this publicly with bipolar disorder because I have the resources to fight back. That's lucky. I have the ability, the health insurance, the money to fight back. You know how lucky I am that my parents don't care? For real. I talk to so many people who desperately want to be advocates. They are articulate, well-spoken. They are better speakers than I am. They're definitely better looking than I am, and they would be amazing. But their families have said that they will flat out disown them if they ever shame the family publicly by admitting such a shameful thing publicly. And my heart breaks not only for them, but for the greater good that they can't live their true selves because their family is shaming them. My family doesn't care. For real. I asked them early on, I'm like, hey, you care if I do this? And they're like, do we care if you're loud? We've known you your whole life, dude. You're not going to stop being loud. And I'm like, well, I say some embarrassing things about some of the stuff you guys did. And they're like, well, but it helps people. They're cool with it. Do you know how lucky I am? Like, for real. You've got to make your own decision. And I guess I want to sum that up by thanking all of the family members, friends, and people who are supportive of those of us who made this decision, because I know that you're rare. I know that it's rare to have family support because it's just so looked down upon. Lisa, Ready for
Well,
the
and
next question? Oh, sorry.
well, I wanted to say one more thing, which is that although when you were closeted, I use that language for a long time, and there were disadvantages and advantages. And although there were a lot of disadvantages and a lot of stigma and a lot of problems when you came out, it was a relief because this was such a big part of our lives that we had to hide. And depending on where you are or how sick you are or what's going on, that's a lot to hide. It's almost you almost have to be like thinking ahead with every conversation, right? You got to plan out every conversation in your mind to make sure it never goes there. And well, what did you do this weekend? Well, I went to the pharmacy, I went to therapy, I practiced my it's a burden. It's a burden to keep depending on what you're doing, it's a burden to keep it. And it was really nice. It was really relaxing to be able to finally be open and not have to worry about who knew. But
Yeah,
again, there were also downsides.
definitely. All right, Lisa, you ready for the next question? Are you going to do
Yes.
the Jedi thing? I'm very
I
excited
feel
for
like
the
you
Jedi
get
thing.
so much happiness from it that it would be terrible of me to take it from you.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Boop!
The sound effects are nice.
Hey! The sound effects are nice. Do we have a YouTube channel? Hey, Riley, thank you so much. You have
Hi
been
again,
like
Riley.
a superstar. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So, Psych Central has a YouTube channel where you can find videos featuring Gabe and Lisa, including past Ask Us Anything presentations. You can also find all of our podcasts. It is youtube.com/Psych Central. I personally have a YouTube channel, which is psychcentral.com/Gabe Howard. But listen, we're not video stars. I mean, Lisa's attractive, but I'm
True.
pulling us down hard. I have a face for podcasting. So sincerely, go over to psychcentral.com/podcasts and check out the Psych Central podcast, Not Crazy, and Inside Schizophrenia. They are all very, very cool shows that fit different niches. I guarantee that you will find really cool stuff. Obviously, you can find Lisa and I on psychcentral.com/not crazy. And that podcast is called Not
Crazy.
But
We
thank you
came
so
up
much
with it
for asking.
ourselves.
Yeah. But check us out. You can also, subscribe to our Facebook pages and stuff. Like really stalk us. We like stalkers. All right, Lisa, are you ready for the next question?
I am. Next
All right.
question.
I'm just gonna let Camera just throw it up there.
That does seem like it'd be less pressure for her. I do feel like that's an unreasonable burden we're putting on the poor woman. Like she doesn't do enough for us.
It's the Force.
All right, next question. How do you know when you were truly finished with therapy, opposed to your mind tricking you to believe so due to avoidance? Well, I don't want to be too facile in my answer, but your obvious question is ask your therapist. See what feedback you get there.
That is so. Yes, I did not even think of that.
Really?
Sincerely, that's such a great that's such a great answer. I'm almost afraid to say anything else because I don't want to, discuss with your therapist why you feel that you should be. Yeah, that's wow. Wow. I was going to say, just because I want to play too, I was going to say, sometimes asking the question is enough. How do you know when you're done? Well, if you have to ask, maybe you're not done. I think about that sometimes. But I also want to say, maybe importantly, there's nothing wrong with taking a break and seeing how things play out. So many people believe that if you don't go to therapy, every single Friday or every other Friday perfectly, that you're doing something wrong. It's okay to take a couple weeks off or a couple sessions off, or I've certainly done it. I've certainly said, I'm feeling pretty good. I'll give you a call in a couple of months. And then in a couple of months, I have a session and talk about how I'm doing and I see what's going on. I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you keep the relationship open, keep the number handy, and be reasonable. Obviously, asking your therapist is honestly the takeaway question, or the best answer that I've ever heard. And I feel dumb for not having thought of it myself. So huge kudos to Lisa. But also consider your goals and have you met them? Are you finished with therapy? Have you achieved your therapy goals? If you have achieved your therapy goals, then you probably are done with therapy. If you have not achieved your goals, then you aren't done with therapy. And if you have not set goals for therapy, now is a good time to work with your therapist to set some goals for therapy. Lisa, anything to add?
No, I think that's all very good advice, especially the thing about For me personally, I'm very goal oriented in the therapy. So as soon as you're in the door, okay, what's the goal here? Because, that whole thing where people go to psychoanalysis once a week for the 17, 20 years, you don't really see that anymore, in part because nobody pays for that. So I'm a big believer in the goal aspect of things. So what was your goal? Have you met that goal? And
I
again,
feel
talk
like
about
I
it with your therapist.
we said all that.
I had a thing. I was getting to my see. I was doing a segue thing with giving you shout out at the same time. I feel like you're not respecting my process, Gabe. Oh, see, silence. Yeah, now silence. Now he's quiet.
My apologies.
Anyway. I did also like your advice that if you have to ask. So, and is this also a question because maybe you're thinking that you've gotten as far as you can with this therapist? So consult with them and see what they say.
All right, Lisa, we have like 7 minutes left. We
Okay.
have a few questions.
All right.
We
Ready?
have to end in like literally 6 minutes. So all of these questions are speed round. Each person gets 30 seconds. Are you ready?
Do we have a timer? I don't do well if I don't have an actual timer.
No timer, just talk less.
Pressure.
On the count of 3.
Oh, I need to
3,
talk less.
2, 1. Poof.
I feel as though my world is getting small because I struggle with mental illness and paranoia that basically traps me in my house. Any advice to help with that?
The first thing that I will say is remember, getting outside of your house isn't just your physical body. You can get out of your house in many ways. You can go to psychcentral.com. You can go to themighty.com. You can watch things like this. For example, you're interacting with another person right now and you asked a question, we answered it. That is outside of your home. So give yourself credit for those little things. It's not just about going to a concert or even a walk around the block. Secondly, to leave your physical your house, consider rewarding yourself to walk to the end of your driveway or to walk to the end of the yard or walk around your literal house or apartment building, etc. But remember, it's baby steps, and give yourself credit for tiny goals. For real, you opened up your front door, you stood on your porch and turned around and walked in, you were successful. Lisa?
Yes, you don't have to go all in, all at once, dive in the deep end. If you're thinking, wow, I need to get out. Okay, you don't need to immediately drive a long distance and go to an arena with 20,000 people in the crowd, although you're probably not going to be able to do that right now. But for example, just enough, get out, walk around the block. You don't have to do something big and huge all at once. You can do small things and work your way up.
All right, you ready for the next question?
Next question.
Ready? I'm not even on the screen.
Well, you were doing the thing. I was going to do it for you.
There we go. Ready?
I was setting it up for you there. Okay, sorry. Boo. I'm not good at this. Yeah. Boo. Boo.
There we go.
See, we haven't figured out the hand thing either. All right. Emily says, I need some help. What helps you fight your deep depression? For me, the number one help was antidepressants. I am not, obviously many people go through life, solving their depression problems without medication. I am not able to do that. And many times over the years, I have become foolish and tried to stop, and it's never worked out. So for me, the answer is therapy helps, the skills help, all of these things help, but medication is really what saved me.
Yeah, medication, therapy, support groups, all of those things were extraordinarily important to help me help me beat the deepest part of the depression. And I had to do a lot of work on top of that. Medication is by far not a magic pill. The other thing that helped, in addition to actually, seeking the treatment and like the support groups, like peer support, because I got a lot of hints. And this is sort of like peer support right now. So I'm a real big believer in it because I am a peer supporter. One of the things that I find very, very helpful, again, this is really, really important. Celebrate small successes. I cannot stress enough how when we're really, really depressed, we call ourselves a failure. And I do it too. I'm like, I accomplished nothing today. Well, that's not true. You got out of bed, you got dressed. You unloaded the dishwasher. Like that's like 3 things right there. Oh, that doesn't count. Other people did more. We're comparing ourselves to others again. We're never going to get out of this depression if we keep comparing ourselves to others. Reward yourself for the things that you did. You took a shower today. Praise. You shaved today? Praise. You cleaned up the kitchen, the living room, ran the vacuum cleaner, called your mom, sat on this call. Like for real. You're interacting right now in a way to support your mental health by learning from others and getting some hints and tips that you can apply to your own life. Success. Praise. You did it. Woo! Like for real. Just we never acknowledge our success unless we win a Nobel Peace Prize. No wonder we're so depressed. Sincerely, reward yourself for the little things. Small victories are victories. All right, we got 2 more questions and we got 2 more minutes. All right,
Okay.
ready?
Poof. We got to work on that.
I think that one was perfect.
I am on weekly psychotherapy and I have decided to stop medication after 4 years. Do you think it is possible to continue to be functional without the medication? Again, there are people who've done it. It does happen. For me personally, no. I am not able to do it. It has, and most of the people I know, no. It is not possible for me to be functional without it.
So there's so much that can be said about this, but I want to be clear. We're not your doctor. We don't know your diagnosis. We don't know, and that really matters. When somebody says, I've decided to stop my medication after 4 years, can I do it? Well, it depends. Psychosis, major depression, anxiety, like what is it? I mean, that really matters. And we don't even need to get into this minutia, because what I want to say most importantly is, I know that this is just wording from a shortened question, but I have decided to stop my medication. I would much rather that say I am working with my doctor to stop my medication. My doctor and I have decided to try and be monitored. I don't know if you can stop your medication or not, but I know that quitting a medication cold turkey, I know that just declaring that you're good, and I know that not being monitored, you're going to want to have some baseline. This is how you behaved when you were on the medication. This is how you're behaving off the medication. Which one do you prefer? Which one is better? Pros and cons, etc. If you just cold turkey one day and stop, you're not going to be able to unbiasedly decide if your life is actually better. So work with your doctor, work with your therapist to go about it in the smartest way possible. Now, will it work? I don't know. But if you're going to try it in the safest way possible. And working with your doctor is the safest way possible.
You also might want to consider that some medications, and again, we don't have the details on what you're doing, you can't just stop. You're going to make yourself sick if you just stop, because they have all these other effects on. Yeah, you might have to titrate down, which you're going to need a doctor's help to do. You could make yourself super sick, and that'll be really unpleasant if you just stop cold turkey on some things.
So obviously the answer is that we don't know, but it is super important not to make this decision in a vacuum. They went to school for 15 years. They are experts on this. Tell them what you need, work with your doctor, make a partnership, and that's what we are going to do. All right, I believe we have one more question.
Okay, one more question.
Ready? Boop!
Poof!
Hey!
So surviving trauma gave us a head start to dealing with a pandemic? Curious.
Yeah. So I think that's probably a simplistic or there's a word I'm looking for, and I apologize. I can't quite grab it. We have experience. We have coping skills. We understand our own mental health. We're used to our body sensations. I talk to so many people as a mental health advocate who for the first time are experiencing any sort of mental health crisis. They're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and they've never experienced anxiety. They've never experienced depression. They've never experienced paranoia, or this is a very traumatizing thing, and this is their first round, and they don't know what to do. They don't even know who to call. Many people have told me, look, we thought that mental health was BS before all this happened. And so the fact that we understand that mental health is vital and important, and we have training and education, and that we understand our own mental health needs and where to go, I think that is, I think that gave us a huge heads up. Lisa, you got 20 seconds and we got to get out.
Okay. Well, then I guess, but I don't really have a whole lot to add. Yes, conceivably, it has given you a head start.
Yay. And again, reward ourselves for what we've done. Everybody, my name is Gabe Howard, and I am the host of the Not Crazy podcast with my super awesome co-host and ex-wife, Lisa. She is awesome, and together we are awesomer. You can find our podcast on your favorite podcast player. Just look up Not Crazy. It's the one that has our picture, and you can subscribe on your favorite podcast player. But the website that you're going to want to remember is psychcentral.com/notcrazy. It's got all the links. It's right there. Lisa, wave. We're out of here. Bye.